Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Pardonable Live. It is Sunday night, 8:30 on time. Your boy's on time tonight. That's how I like to do. It's Palm Sunday, guys. It's Palm Sunday. Um, it is also, I'm going to go and give you a little insight before we get started. Beautiful day up here in upstate New York. Absolutely gorgeous. Sun was out. We got into the 60s. And I say this because it snowed Saturday morning. Just so you know, I'm in a great mood. It's been a great day. We're going to have a good time. I hope your week was fantastic. I hope you had a wonderful day. And if you did have a wonderful day, go ahead and like and subscribe because you might be a jabroni. And that's how I'll know. Like and subscribe, whatever you're watching this, listening to this on. We should be streaming everywhere: YouTube, Twitch, X, Kick, I think Rumble. I don't know if I figured that one out yet. Who knows? But you can find me on all those things too. So if you're like, I'm streaming this on YouTube and YouTube is awful, well, go to X, go to Kick, go to wherever the kids watch these things. Go there and like and subscribe, because that's how we do, guys. You know the drill. Tonight we're going to be talking about nuanced nonsense, and the reason behind that is because everyone hates nuance. That concept of being like, let's just really think about both sides here and let's take an even keel approach to things. Nope, that crap's out the window. But we're gonna focus on that because I think it might be somewhat important. We're gonna chit chat about that. But before we get started, speaking of being nuanced, guys, I don't know if you know this, but I created a game. Now it's not real like your normal game. It's not a video game. All the kids are playing today with the joysticks and whatnot. It's it's way more old school than that. It's like Stranger Things old school. It's a tabletop RPG, and you can see it if you go to flintlockandfog.com. Let's check it out. The website. Here we go. Flintlockandfog.com. So it's a tabletop RPG like your D&Ds, like your Pathfinders. Right now, the player's manual, the limited edition beta version, is available at Amazon. You can go to the website right here, click purchase. I'll take you right to the Amazon. You can buy it too. And now I know what you're thinking, like, well, what happens when I buy it? I don't have any friends. What do I do? Well, if you want to play this game and you have no friends like me, you can go scroll down further and click this button that says become a beta tester. This opens up a whole panel. It's free. It lets you download everything, all the materials that I have, and I just put up some game maps as well to help you be able to play this with your imaginary friends. Now, here's the cool thing. If you become a beta tester and you're like, well, I don't even know what I'm doing with this, it does open up a one-on-one. You get to sit down with me. I go over the game. We chit chat about it. I answer your questions. The whole point of this is to get you started on your path to becoming way cooler than all your friends who play D&D. And again, down here, I got a new video up. It goes over all the 6 character studies that you can choose to play as. Again, if you're like, I don't even know what D&D is, well, none of this makes any sense to you, and that's fine. That's fine. You don't have to know what D&D is. It's a great game. But again, it's taken up a lot of my time, and this is the reason why I bring it up. It's taken a ton of my time because it's a big project. It's a long road ahead. Right now, I'm just lining out a few different updates to the website, and updates for beta testers, and now we're moving into adding new items and furnishing an author's guide, which is basically like your DM of this game. So you can take this and run and play with your friends. Now, again, there's no real quests I've put out yet, but it's coming. So if you're like, well, there's just a player's manual, how do I play it? It doesn't even come with a board game. There's no board to play with my pieces on. Well, that's coming, but it's D&D style, so it's campaigns and quests. It's more like reading a novel and being part of it. Choose your own adventure. Do you guys remember those? The books where you get to choose your own adventure and be like, all right, I want to do this. Turn to page 68. And you turn to it and you read. It's like that, but you're interacting with your imaginary friends. Who knows? You might actually have friends. Me, I just like to beta test with Grok. I'm joking. Go to flintlockandfog.com. Longest commercial ever. But it's right up at the front. So before we get and I ranted about commercials. So trust me, that's it. No more commercials throughout the rest of the show. I hate commercials when they pop up. So I figured I'd throw that in the front. I might actually bring it up later too, just for fun. Just to piss you guys off because you know I like to do. Last thing before we get started, chat is open. Now I know what you're thinking. You're like, is David phoning this one in tonight? Maybe. Oh, that's where I was going with the Flintlock and Fog thing. So here's the situation. I'm just going to be upfront and honest because you guys know I'm way more transparent than the Trump administration, even though they keep saying they're the most transparent administration. They might be the most, but that's not saying a lot. I'm pretty transparent. I love Pardonable Lives on Sunday nights. It's a good time. It's a great way to prep for your week ahead. We talk about hot topics, things that are going on the internet. And I normally like to take a common theme and make all the stories combine into this one theme. Well, I'm gonna try to do that tonight. It's probably not gonna go well. And moving forward, I might just not put that much time into it. And here's the reason why. Be like, David, what are you slacking on us? What are you doing here? You're not gonna put forth the effort? Nope. I'm still putting forth the effort. Here's the thing. I got this flintlock thing going on, and that's only one of like 8,000 other projects I got going on all simultaneously. And you're like, well, David, you got that podcaster money. Of course, you got plenty of time. Wrong again. Wrong again, because I don't even ask you guys to go buy stuff on my website, which you can at pardonwill.com. You'll buy t-shirts and art. You can do that. But I don't even ask you. All I ask you to do is like and subscribe because I think you're a bunch of jabronis. Now, with all the other projects going on, I'm not saying I'm going to phone these episodes in, but trying to make a story out of them might become more and more difficult with all the other things. Because here's the one last thing I'll add. It's springtime. And I don't know if you know this, but up here in upstate New York, when spring starts a popping, yard work shows back up. And I've got a ton of that going on too. And so all my days are slam packed full of fun things, working with my hands, making money that way, and then tilling my own personal garden. And you should appreciate that because that's good for the soul. And the more yard work I do, the better these episodes will get. Now, will they be one theme and I'm just pulling all these stories and make it into a nice little package with a bow on it? Maybe not. Maybe not. But either way, what I can promise you is an absolutely fun time. Here's how you know Pardon Live's always a fun time. Last week, uh, I did a whole entire hour of why saying the R word is okay. We just don't want to overuse it. And if you're like, R word, which one is he? Is he talking about? What's the R word? Retard. We talked about the word retard. I said it so many times. I think I'm done saying it. But my point was, it's okay to say. Let's just not overuse it. We don't want it to go away and become useless like all the others. But then we kind of caught halfway through the episode, like, well, maybe we do want this to not mean so many things. And the reason behind that is because our boy Joey Rogan, who we're going to talk a lot about this week or tonight, uh, at the beginning of this podcast, that's got a ton of listens to this week, stated that we're in a renaissance where the R word is back. It's okay to use. He used the R word and he said it's okay because we're in a renaissance. And then New York Post posted this. Joe Rogan slammed for saying the slur is one of the great culture victories. See, they didn't even put R word in there. Is R word now bad too? I don't even know why I have it set up this way. Let's switch these around. They didn't even put the Joe Rogan slam for saying the R word. He just said saying return of slur, which is the R word, is one of the great cultural victories. Now, here's the thing. It is a great cultural victory because everyone knows that when I call you the R word, you're not like, oh my God, he's trashing all the mentally disabled. We literally spent an hour talking about this. So it is a cultural victory. But is it the cultural victory that we want? Maybe. It might just be a sign of the times. Because every generation has their new slang, the new whatever, fibbly job or whatever the Gen Z. But it's nice to see millennials and Gen Xers kind of being like, hey, we lost something along the way, and then repicking that thing up. Hopefully, the economy comes with it. Because if we can get the language of the 1990s, maybe we'll get the economy of the 1990s. Either way, this podcast definitely inflamed a bunch of people. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Again, I did it last week. You can go back to my YouTube or whatever and watch Rated R for R Word. That was the episode I did over it. This person came out and thoroughly upset. We're going to repeat this one more time. Joe Rogan, your statement that the R word is back and it's one of the great cultural victories ignores the terrible hurt it causes the millions of people with intellectual disabilities. Again, one more time, they're fine with it. I asked. They're totally cool with us using the R word. Number two, the only reason why Maureen McCormick doesn't like us using the R word is because most of the people in her comments just called her that. And that's, again, that's what you would expect. I didn't pull this Twitter thread up, but let your imagination run wild. She posted this and it was nothing but R words all the way down. Anyway, this is not a victory. It's a regression. Wrong and right. It is a victory and it's a regression. See, that's where Maureen doesn't understand. Is it a regression? Yes. Back to the language of the 90s. Is it a victory? Yes, it's both. It's both. We're not progressing. And I would like to stay at this nice little theme. I don't want the R word to go away and us have to move on to something else. Let's just hold on to it. Let's not overuse it. Let's just hang out with it for a little bit, see how it marinates. At least give us like at least give us the next 4 years with Trump in office to really just kind of hone in this R word. Let's not go too far with that. Anyway, that's my piece on that. I thought it was convenient. I think Joe watched Pardon Will Live Sunday and he was like, "Wow, this guy just talked about the R word for an hour. Maybe I'll say it on my millions pocket." And that's what he did. That's what happened. He called me up and told me. He was like, "Hey, man, I like the fact that you talked about the R word for an hour. I think I'm going to mention it on my podcast." And I was like, "Nah, okay," but the people are going to tweet about it anyway. All right, so we got a few clips tonight. Again, we're talking about nuance, using the R word. Just be nuanced with it. The argument for it, argument against it. Obviously, some people are upset, mostly because we're calling them R words for their political takes and whatnot. Another big thing happened this week, and I want to pull this up. Talking about nuanced, our boy Billy Maher has a show. I don't know if you know this. I don't know what it's called. I don't watch it, but I do catch clips of old Billy Maher. And he recently went to the White House to hang out with Trump and Kid Rock. He's going to tell us about it, and I thought this was pretty interesting. So let's take a look at this clip, and then we're going to chat about it.
At one point, we were walking through it is an amazing tour of the whole house. And I don't remember exactly what we were talking about, but it must have been something with the 2020 election, because I know he used the word lost. And I distinctly remember saying, "Wow, I never thought I'd hear you say that." He didn't get mad. He's much more self-aware than he lets on in public. Look, I get it. It doesn't matter who he is at a private dinner with a comedian. It matters who he is on the world stage. I'm just taking as a positive that this person exists, because everything I've ever not liked about him was, I swear to God, absent, at least on this night with this guy. Bob, Kid Rock, told me the night before, he said, if you want to get a word in edgewise, you're going to have to cut him off. He'll just go on. Not at all. I've had so many conversations with prominent people who are much less connected, people who don't look you in the eye, people who don't really listen because they just want to get to their next thing, people whose response to things you say just doesn't track, like, what? None of that with him. And he mostly steered the conversation to, what do you think about this? I know, your mind is blown, so's mine.
All right, so the cool thing about this clip is, again, it's Bill Maher. He's a lefty. He's a bit nuanced, though. If you ever watch his show, like I don't, you would definitely understand that. Like he thinks some of the crazy stuff, the progressive stuff, is pretty crazy, and he dibble dabbles in a little bit of nuance when it comes to that thing. So it's kind of interesting that he even went to the White House, because his audience hates him for it. But the fact that he comes back with a report that wasn't scathing. So I don't know if you remember this, but when Trump got elected, old Morning Joe, our favorite morning, I don't even know if, guys, here's the thing. I haven't seen a Morning Joe clip because they quit posting them on Twitter because people just kept putting R words down underneath it. They just stopped posting on Twitter. I mean, they post, but they don't post clips because they know their boy David over here is going to take them and play them on his podcast. He went to Mar-a-Lago and he came back and he did not have this because Joe is a paid for shill. And so he's got to do whatever he's told. But Bill Maher has always teetered the line. And he's always played that like classical liberal sense, and I like that. I like the nuance part about. And so this is again, just like Maureen said, this is a regression, but it's also a victory. Now, Bill Maher, I'm not saying he's regressing. I think he's progressing into something that we used to have, which I'm telling you, back in the 90s, people actually had nuanced about stuff. There was a bit of a debate about things. We would talk and go back and forth. I know you youngsters out there were like, "What do you mean the 90s? What are you, a boomer?" Pretty much. It's all starting to blend together. I like this take old Billy Maher coming back, not just going and hanging out with Kid Rock, but actually coming back and telling you exactly what people in Trump's camp have been saying this whole time. The only reason why him and his audience are surprised is because they've been lied to this entire time. And you're like, David, are you sure they've been lied to? And I would respond, yes, they've been lied to about Trump this whole time, just like you were lied to about Biden that whole time. Him being cognitive aware and stuff like that, him doing jumping jacks and solving math problems behind the scenes. Complete lie. along with the thing where Trump's a racist, he's a Nazi, he doesn't want to listen to, he's a blowhard, he's a narcissist, he'll just, you're fired. Everybody comes in, just hits the button for Diet Cokes. Well, the Diet Cokes thing, the Diet Cokes might have been a real, but everything else just lies. They just don't like him. They don't want him to win because we all saw what happened. I mean, again, Bill Maher might be the only raft coming off of the media Titanic that's been the past few months. The media, that's again, I don't even know if I should bring up Morning Joe, because at this point in time, Joe Scarborough might be less relevant than I am. And that's a feat, guys. That's a freaking feat. We got Godspeed coming in hot with the 90s were peak. Yes, Godspeed. Absolutely, the 90s. The 90s were peaked. In a follow-up too, says last time things were normal. Here's the cool thing about the 90s. We're gonna hang out real quick. I don't know if the 90s were completely normal, but for us who saw the 80s, which I was pretty young, the 90s, and then all from then, it's normal to us. And we're going to chit chat about this. We're going to chit chat about the stock market and the boomer takes and stuff like that. It's normal to us because it might have been something that we grew up in. It's like the start of I don't know how old Godspeed is, but for me, that was my earlier teens and 20s. And so it's normal for us. And I think since we are the cultural megaphone, it's ours now. I think, yes, Godspeed, let's continue to tell everybody who's younger and the boomers too, because I don't know what their normal was like 1960s. And so whatever, no one cares about their takes anymore. But while the Gen Xers and the Gen Xers and millennials have the megaphone, the cultural megaphone. Yes, the 90s were normal, and that's the victory we want. Is it a regression going back to the style we had in the 90s? Absolutely. Is it a victory? Absolutely. See, that's the problem. And I hate to categorize all the left into one, but lefties think the only victory is in progress. Guys, progress can be bad sometimes. Don't tell them that. The only thing they think about is progress. So they're called progressives. That's literally what they're called. They call themselves progressives because everything is bad all the time until we progress to the next thing. Lo and behold, guys, there's a scripture for this. It says, the grave and war are never full, so the eyes of man are never satisfied. Progressives will never stop. That was the whole point. You give them an inch. Hey, what about this right to do stuff? All right, yeah, that seems somewhat fair. And they're like, wow, parades everywhere, all the things, drag queen story hour. Just give us all. It's because it's progression. It's all good things. Anytime we go back, lefties hate it because they think back is hell. They think it's still back. Anyway, good point, Godspeed. Yes, the 90s were normal because we hold the megaphone. I'm gonna keep saying it. 90s were normal. Anyway, I like old Billy Maher coming out. Seems like you could say it's like Elon Musk said the woke mind virus was dead months ago. And we were like, no, I personally said, I was like, I don't think it is. I think it's going to hold on for quite some time. I don't mind the woke mind virus being, well, I don't like it to be a mind virus. I don't mind it being around because you need to know what's going on the outskirts. This is the same reason why fringe ideas, when people have fringed ideas, you need to be able to chit chat about them. You need to be able to talk about them. You need to let them have a platform. You need to see what they're saying and what's going around here. Speaking about this, we're going to skip a statement. Speaking about saying the things. Oh, we got one more thing. Armed. The armed gardener was stuck around. I love that. What was in the Bible verse? Please, I want to learn that one. I think, to be honest, I think it's in Proverbs. It's just one I remember. I can't tell you the one, but if you type in, I should know my scriptures, but if you type in war and the grave are never satisfied, so the eyes of, oh no, war and the grave are never full, so the eyes of man are never satisfied. That's probably like a KJV thing. So that might be the only thing you pop up with. Thanks, Armor Gardner, for sticking around. All right. I'm debating on which segment we're going to go into next because we're kind of talking about the 90s and nuanced. And I had a good tee up for this. Now I forgot. Let's kick back to the 90s real quick. We're gonna stay on my scheduled thing out. See, even at the beginning, I was like, guys, I'm phoning this in, and I've got outlines. I've got notes. Nothing written down, but I've got a pen in case I want to make notes. Anyway, one of the other big things that happened this week, I don't know if you noticed, it's been a long time. Monday, the stock market crashed and everybody was losing their minds. losing their minds. And then the stock market came back up because Trump was like, tariffs on, tariffs off, tariffs on, just flipping a switch. Like he had a switch in the White House. He was just flicking it back and forth. Like he didn't know which one. You ever had that light switch in your house? You're like, I don't know what this goes to, but maybe somebody will know. And really, it's just your porch light, and it's been blown out, so you don't know. But Trump's just over there flicking that tariff switch, and things are coming in and coming out. Here's the cool thing. Oh, it's a cool thing. There's a few things about this concept. A ton of people were freaked out, and for sure. But we all know the stock market only went down a little bit compared to what it was 4 years ago. It was still higher than any of that. But a lot of people had some fun things to say. This is one of them, and this is one of my favorite ones on Twitter. So I want you to check this out. This guy, I don't know who this is, but I found this, and boy, oh boy, did he R-word it up. Ready? Check out this tweet. This was when the tariffs and all the stock market crashed this week. This is old Tim Jacob Wise. For all you MAGA cultists out there who keep saying the market slump doesn't matter because 20 and 30-year-olds have plenty of time to make up for losses. Seriously, what is your answer for people retiring now? Who thought they were good until the guy effed it up? I bleeped out the F part. What is your answer? Tough S-H-I-T. Shit. Tough shit. That's his question. For all you people out there being like, all the 20 and 30-year-olds being like, oh, the stock market crashed, boo-hoo, boomer, boo-hoo, boomer. He comes out with this. He's like, yeah, okay, they can recover, but what about us? What about us that were retiring right now and everything just went down the drain? Again, the next day it popped right back up, but Tim Wise didn't know that at the time. Tim Wise didn't know that at the time. So I found some awesome responses, and I'm going to read them to you, and they're a bit long, and then we're going to chit-chat real quick about this, I promise. Real fast. Now check out this response. Hold on, before we get back into this. Godspeed to Trumpus punching Nancy Pelosi's portfolio, which I actually thought might have been. What if that was the whole point of the tariffs? He's like, I'm gonna crash the stock market. It's gonna be a huge loss. Nancy Pelosi might actually come out and say something funny. Let's get off of here. So I'm gonna share this. This was in response to old Timmy Wise. This post right here, and it's long, and again, it's a big screen. I'm gonna read this out to you. You guys know I like to read, and I like to put emphasis on the things I want to put emphasis on. So this is from Devin Erickson. Don't know who this guy is. Should give him a follow. Dear boomers, and this is in response to that old Timmy Wise's tweet. Dear boomers, if your stock portfolio has suffered from tariffs and other steps taken by Trump's administration to onshore American industry, I have some advice for you. Some of it may sound familiar. Number one, dust off your resume. Rewrite it with lots of action words. Number two, get yourself out there and network. Number three, cold call businesses to ask if they're hiring. That shows initiative. Number four, be sure to make eye contact and have a nice firm handshake. Shows character. Number five, save money. Skip that Starbucks latte and avocado toast. Number seven or six, I don't know where we are now. Buy another house. They're a great investment because they'll only go up in value. Number eight, if you are having trouble finding a job, consider an unpaid internship. Boomers, this might be a good one for you. If you have a really good work ethic, because we all know every boomer has the most amazing work ethic, they might hire you after the first year. Number nine, I hear managers at Chipotle. I think I tried to mix Chick-fil-A and Chipotle together, but both. I'm sure that both managers make decent money. Number 11, have you considered driving for Uber? Number 18, doesn't matter. I'm just making up numbers now. Nobody owes you anything. And lastly, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. So basically what it is, you can tell this person does not care about this guy's take. And I'm going to read one more just because we're going to go into this because I actually think there's some nuanced argument, not for the boomer side. We're going to break this down. I'm going to explain to Timmy Wise why he doesn't even understand what he just said. Let's do one more. I want to read this. This one goes in, I think, into it a little bit better, so I don't have to do a ton of monologuing on my own. Here we go. This is by I don't even know how to pronounce this. Some kind of Italian something the hatred. Go give them a follow. Oh, along with me too. Go follow at Pardonable Art. That's my Twitter handle. Follow me there. Do it. Just follow. And if you're on Twitter right now, go and share the button where that puts it up somewhere. I don't know. Do something. Who cares? This is the person. Yes, and this again in response to old Timmy Wise. Yes, my answer is tough shit. Just like younger generations, answer to millennials and Zoomers who were unable to get a job, buy a home, have a family, or save for our own retirement was tough shit. This is your karmatic reckoning, carefully curated for the moment you abandon the unwritten obligation every generation has always had to leave the world a better place for the next. You stole our jobs, you stole our houses, you stole our pensions, you stole our rents, you stole our futures, and you made the world infinitely worse for us in every way. All so you could boost your portfolio and spend a historical oh my god um, unprecedented 20 years at the end of your lives sitting on a beach in Florida. You know why millennials and Zoomers don't care about what's happening right now? It's because we think it's not because we think we'll make it up later. It's because we've already accepted that we will never make this up. This is a normal day for us. This has been our reality for our entire effing lives. LMAO. Welcome, enjoy, pull yourselves up by the bootstraps, skip the avocado toast, and print off a few resumes. Guys, I'm so sorry if you have kids in the room. I don't normally like to cuss on this podcast. The farthest I'll go is saying the retard. That's about as far as I go. But I did have to say the old shits for emphasis. But I did blur out, or not blur out, bleep. I didn't say the F word. There's a plus. Yeah. So I actually thought these takes were great. So basically what I think is going on, again, the stock market jumped back up. But I thought there was a bit of a nuanced thing that Timmy should pick up. And it was that last tweet specifically. When I read that, I was like, yeah, I actually agree with a lot. There's a few things in there. It was extremely well written, but there's a few things in there I was like, well, I don't know about. I don't know if I would have worded it that way. But the sentiment wasn't that we're like happy. I don't care if you're old and you got portfolio. I'm not happy that your stock crashed. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to any of these other people. And so we're like, well, why are you happy? Because no, we're not happy. We just don't care. Here's the thing. It's not anger or frustration at your portfolio. It's the realization that we don't have, that'll never be anything that we have. So going back to like, I would love to go back to the 90s because back in the 90s, your Gen Xers, your Boomers, and it's not, this was all supposed to happen. Like this is all supposed to happen. So when all the millennials and all the Gen Zers are tweeting at this Tim Wise guy, it's not that they're mad that they're it's not even that they're mad that they're not going to get a 401k or they're not going to have social security or they're not going to have a retirement when they get 80. They're not mad that they're not going to get it. They're mad that they were lied to by all of y'all growing up. And again, you can say what you want. They did the best. It was like, well, this is the world we grew up in. So we just told our kids, guys, I grew up, same thing. Go to college. And once you go to college, you'll get a great job. My best friend went to a private school for computer programming and ended up working at a Circuit City for the next 3 years. And that was like in the early 2000s. That was the first sign of being like, hey, it doesn't matter what you, amazing GPA, completed, graduate, this is normal. And then once you start seeing like all of the plans that all the things they told us, skip the avocado toast, do this, all these little things, firm handshake, call and cold call. We're not mad that you think that that's it. We're mad that you lied to us. You lied to us. And it's not like you didn't know. You just thought something else. And so that's the real reason. Everyone my age is automatically assumed there is no well, not everyone my age. All my friends, all my imaginary friends automatically assume there's nothing at the end of that rainbow. There's no pot of gold. I know I've said this multiple times. So like I will most likely work till I'm dead. And that's not because I love to work, which I do, because it might be my only option. It might be your only option too. But I think the difference is Tim Wise thinks we don't care that the stock market crashed because in 20 years we'll make it up. No, we're apathetic. Apathy is actually worse than anger. Let me explain this real quick. Gen Zers and millennials, we're apathetic to the plight of the older generations. And it is absolutely worse than just being angry at them. Here's the difference. When you're angry at something, you actually cared about it in the first place. It means something to you. Or it's somewhat, and this is going to go into the next segment too, but it affects you in some way. Apathy is completely not even existent. You don't even care. You don't even care about the thing enough to be mad at it. This is why that scripture in Revelations, where God says, I'd rather you be hot or cold, not lukewarm. If you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out of my mouth. Why? Why would he rather us be hot or cold from? Why would he would prefer a hardcore Christian and a hardcore Satanist to just someone who's apathetically in the middle? Why? Why would he? Because the person, it's worse. It's worse than being mad, because at least if you're mad, you feel something about the subject. You care enough to be mad about it. But if you're apathetic, that is like the hardest slant you could do. Here's a good way of saying it. If your best friend slights you or something, does something, steers your car and wrecks it, or I don't know. I didn't have an analogy prepared for this, but you get it. Your best friend does something that really hurts you, really really hurts you, and you come back with, yeah, dude, I don't. Who are you? Like, I don't care. That would be worse for your best friend than if you'd be like, dude, I'm absolutely upset. Because if you were upset that he betrayed you or she betrayed you, at least you thought highly of them and they didn't meet your expectations and now you're upset. But if you don't care, it means you didn't even think highly of them in the first place. And that's what I mean by apathy is worse than even anger. So what old Timmy Wise is getting, what Timmy Wise is getting is he's getting apathy. We don't really care. None of us expected anything. Are we going to recover from the stock? We already recovered in one day. But I can tell you this now, just a little side note. The Federal Reserve and the currency thing, I would not take the bank to the bank. Just leave it there. I wouldn't take it to the bank. Even with Trump and all, I said this before, Trump's going to get in, but the best thing Trump's going to do is just slow it down a little bit, which is fine, because that means you can come up with other ways to survive, which is what we're going to go into here in a little bit. You'll manage. So that's the cool thing about hard times creating strong men. You guys obviously know the saying, strong good times create weak men create hard times create strong men. The cycle repeats. What you're going through now or whatever, not being able to buy a house, just means you're going to have to be a little bit more ingenuitive. I don't even know if that's actually the right word, or if even that's a word. Either way, you're just gonna have to think on your feet a little bit more. You got to work around. That's all this generation is. Ever since the 90s, which is another reason why that was the normal, because back in the 90s was just the beginning of this thing called the internet. Before that, guys, things were been pretty normal, or at least said culturally normal, for 40 years. And then the internet broke out and all guns went ablazing. Everything changed. Everyone said that email wasn't going to be a thing. Don't use it. Email's dumb. That's never going to catch on. And so that's the point. Everything's changed since the 90s rapidly. Rapidly. I mean, 9/11, you got the 2008 crash, you got COVID, you got everything. We're all used to it now. The only normal time was the 90s where no one even, guys, if this podcast was in the 90s, you know what I wouldn't be talking about? Politics. Well, David, why wouldn't you be talking about politics? Wasn't there a ton of interesting things happening in the 90s? No, there was way cooler stuff like MTV and friggin' Pogs and all the cool stuff of the 90s. And you're like, well, those aren't really cool. But they were cool to us because we didn't have to care about this stupid crap like politics and cultural norms and arguments about which war we should be involved in. I'm sure we were having those. Well, I was young, so I wasn't really having those. Either way. 90s were normal because we didn't have to shift and bob and weave our entire lives from then on. Where you're not sure what to invest in. Like, hey, I should probably buy some properties. And then 2008 happens and you lose everything, including the one you were living in. Wild, guys. But I like this generation. The millennials, the Gen Zers, they're going to be fine, even with their funny skibbity words. They'll end up being fine. If it stays hard for a while, they'll create strong men. I'm pretty optimistic about that. I am pretty optimistic about that. Let's move on to the main topic. Not main topic. Well, it's a bit of a main topic. We got a bunch of videos. Well, and I have two videos I want to play. Moving on into we had some comments. Let's take a look at some comments real quick. Let's read this one. This is Legacy Zach coming in. Computer programming degree, Circuit City cashier. Yeah, the dude legit happened. I don't know if he watches my lives. I'm gonna assume he doesn't. But he would think that's pretty funny. To be honest, guys, I quit college after realizing what kind of a scam it was. I was 2 semesters in and I was like, this is a friggin' joke. Or I was a joke. Maybe no, I'm joking. I quit college and look at me. I'm a podcaster. See, you can do it. Oh, we gotta skip some of these comments. Thanks, Zach. coming in with the hot topics. We got the armed gardener coming back in. The string of traumas began a long time ago. Everyone alive today has experienced their share. Not exactly true. That's it. Nailed it. Nailed it. We've got Gotsby coming in. You'll be you'd be talking nerd stuff because that's what the internet was used for in the 90s. So yeah, absolutely true. I still do, guys. I want to tell you all about how Daredevil's going. I might say that for the end. Still a great show. Enjoying Daredevil. Stick around the end. Maybe I'll give you my little take on it. And Legacy Zach, one more comment. Legacy Zach coming in. Power Rangers podcast. Power Rangers were dumb. That was after my time. Sorry, Zach. Sorry, Zach. It's a Ninja Turtles kid. Moving on. So we're going to talk about this big other topic that happened today that has held the Twitter for days now. Now, I know not every you watching this on Twitter are on Twitter. Joking. Everyone who watches this is most likely on Twitter. Old Dougie Murray went on Joey Rogan's podcast with our boy Dave Smith. Now, here's the thing. Biased up front. Here's why Nuanced Nonsense comes in. I'm going to be flat out honest with you. Big fan of Dave Smith. Always have been. Just because he shares the same name as me. It makes sense. All Daves have to be friends with Daves. I know it's weird. You're like, well, what about the Wendy's guy? Yeah, him too. Him too. So all Daves are friends with Daves. So I like Dave Smith. I also like a lot of his takes. Now, I don't always agree with Dave on everything because I don't agree with anybody on anything or everything. So I like Dave because he obviously is a libertarian, so me and him share a few political things. I like his take on not wanting to go to war, but again, I'm not involved. Like I say this every time. Foreign conflicts, I don't focus on them because they're foreign, and that's a double entendre. Foreign to me in multiple different ways, but geographically foreign. So I try not to spend too much time thinking about that. I don't have time to go into history books, but these debates are fun. And the reason why I listen to these debates because they're interesting and I want to hear both sides. Now, caveat, I like Dave Smith, so I'm a bit leaning towards his bias, but this is going to blow y'all's mind. I actually like Douglas Murray too. I like Douglas Murray. I've heard a lot of his podcasts and I've heard a lot of things that he's talked about in the past, and I agree with him a ton too. Now you're saying, David, how can this be? Because they were going back at it on the Joey Rogan podcast and everyone's picking a side, and even old Dougie Murray. He said, he was like, libertarians are the bisexuals of political. They can't seem to pick a group. They can't seem to pick a side. To be honest, guys, that's one of the reasons why I like libertarians so much is because they just refuse to play the game, which is a great, great person to have on your team. Even if they're not on your team, which is basically what he's talking about. Now, here's the thing. I like Douglas Murray because culturally, and I said this on Twitter, he's great when debating leftists because he's really good against caricatures. And leftists are caricatures normally, like they are the caricature that you would think of. So he's great with that, but he also is culturally inclined to say the thing out loud that people are scared to say, which is a lot like what Dave does politically when it comes to wars. So if you were to take these people and you were to remove the topic, they most likely would say the same similar things. Now, where this got difficult, and we're going to actually, before I go on, let's watch a clip real quick. I'm not going to spend a lot of time because chances are I watched the entire thing. You probably saw the entire thing as well. So we're going to talk about the nuance, the difference between this. But here's a clip real quick, just to kind of refresh our memories.
I think authority matters.
I think authority matters, and I think that if you just throw a lot of shit out there and then say, I'm not interested in the alternative views on this, and particularly when it's a counter-narrative that is wildly off. And when you get people, look, I just feel, we should get it out straight away, I feel you've opened the door to quite a lot of people who've now got a big platform who have been throwing out counter-historical stuff of a very dangerous kind.
You mean Daryl? Are you talking about Daryl?
Daryl, who's the other one?
I don't think Daryl has...
Derek,
I don't think there's anything dangerous about
what's the
what
other guy? Derek, what's his name? Cooper, is it? Which one is it?
No, that's Daryl
Daryl Cooper. Who's...
All right, we're going to pause it for a minute. I'm going to switch this up. Here's the thing. He's a Brit, and I definitely can't have the Brit hogging the main side of the screen with an American. Just not right. So number one, Dave's already got him on this debate because he's an American. An old Dougie Murray. It's not. He's obviously listen to his voice. This particular topic I found off-putting big time because I'm a free speech kind of guy, and I think Joe can have on it whoever he wants. But I understand where he's coming from. for the most part. It just sounds like a weak argument. Like, these people say scary things. It seems like something you heard from the left all the time. Don't platform these people. They're bigots. They're bigots. Did you hear that transphobe thing that one time they said in that one podcast? Don't have them. They're dangerous conspiracy theories. They're always talking about, the COVID being in the Wuhan lab. The conspiracy theory. Stop it. And he played into the problem with listening to this for 3 hours was having 2020 flashbacks. And if you were to take everything Douglas said and threw it into 2020 concept, you'd been like, well, this guy's way off. This is a terrible. He totally lost. If you were the whole time listening to this, and you hadn't picked a side yet of Dave or Douglas, and you were only thinking about, you thought that maybe they were referencing 2020, you would have been on Dave's side 100%. Because Dave has a principle of, I think that might have been it. Dave's just a particularly principled in this aspect where everything's first principles. I don't think Douglas, other than him not even really liking, he's British. They don't have free speech over there. So it's not as important. He really wants to be considered. He wants Joe to consider who he's going to have on his podcast. He doesn't want these crazy ideas coming out there. As if you don't, if you push crazy ideas to the fringes, they don't grow. Dumb. I'm not going to play because you guys most likely played all of this, but this is where the nuance part jumps in. So I've said my piece. You guys understand where I'm going with this. Godspeed's coming back in. We're going to read this. The libertarians are very misunderstood and lied about. It doesn't help that hardly anyone knows our philosophy or hear the hop in the Frankfurt School. True. He's absolutely right about that. They are misunderstood. But to be honest, if you ever watch videos of a libertarian convention, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not. They're a bunch of wackadoodles. So libertarians are misunderstood on their philosophy, and discredited by their actions. I would say, maybe lack of decorum. That would have been the other thing. Anyway, here's a clip. So I thought the same thing you thought, most likely. Unless you're a Douglas Murray fan, you're like, oh, he crushed Dave. There was no way. I watched the Twitter and the two tribes. Oh, this is one thing I want to say one more time. Douglas talked about this. You need to pick a side thing. And this is where the nuance part comes in. Because do you need to pick a side? Now, he's talking about the Israel-Gaza conflict and the Ukraine-Russian conflict, and he's talking about, those two particular, he's talking about picking sides in general. He isn't like libertarians because they seem to just play up the middle. Again, first principles aspect. The only side they're on and Dave says this, I'm on liberty and freedom side. That's the side I'm on. But the problem is with these conflicts and the foreign thing and all that crap, in any cultural conversations that we have, it always seems to divide in two sides, which is perfectly fine. But to demand that you not have nuance, but you go ahead and commit to a side, can be a little bit frustrating. Again, we go back to the scripture. I'd rather you hot or cold. So I understand this concept. It can be frustrating to play up the middle side because there will be a line drawn in the sand at one point in time. Now, here's where this makes a little bit more sense for old Dougie. Again, I'm a bit biased. I think Dave won that because Doug came out of the gate being a dick, pompous. And anytime someone comes out with arrogance, I automatically recoil. Even if they're like on my side, they're arguing my point. I've had this multiple times where I've listened to debates and I'm like, I'm on this guy's side, but sure as a dick, and then automatically don't like it. I'm first principled, and if you're a dick, not a fan. And so whatever you're arguing, if you have a great point that I agree with, and you just come off like you're arrogant and pompous and an expert, I will switch sides just because of that. That's my first principle. Not a fan of those particular kind of fruits. So Douglas is definitely has one of those fruits. But here's the nuance part. We're going to jump to it. I listened to the whole thing, and then a few days later, old Dougie Murray, because he's got a book, something about the death cult. And he's talking about Islamist extremists. I think in that. I haven't read the book, but it came out. He was just on Dave Rubin's podcast, and I listened to a little bit of that, and I'm going to pull this up, and then we're going to talk about, in reference, because most of us know where Dave's coming from. First principles, war is bad. I don't want to pick a side, blah, blah, blah. These are atrocities, blah, blah, blah. We all know Dave's side. Here's Douglas's side and what he's thinking. He's not thinking 2020. I can tell you that. He's not thinking about the past in year 2020 when he was arguing with Dave. Here's what he was thinking.
A recent study found that 40% of people living in London are foreign born. And there's lots of ways of passing that. One is to say, well, that's just great. It's a international city. But I'm not really sure we've got the brightest and the best from around the world. And we certainly haven't got the people we needed the most. Driving here this morning, I can't say that I'm thrilled when I drive through the wasteland of what the Luftwaffe managed to achieve in the 1940s and what post-war planners achieved after that. I can't say I'm thrilled when I drive down what remains of the streets in this wasteland of East London and I see from the lampposts big signs saying, trust Allah, pay your zakat. Not planning to do either of those things in the near future. But yes, I mean, I think that post-war immigration policy and much more has led us to a place I've warned about for 20, 25 years now. And all the warnings were not heeded and everything's got worse.
So in that the warnings weren't heeded and in that it seemingly has gotten worse, how do you get out of this? I mean, how does this country get out of this? Not just this city, how does this country get out of this? In some sense, that's what this conference is about, and that's what you're writing about.
Yes, I mean, it's one aspect of it. I think that there are some technical things that you need to do, and there's some deep substrate things you need to do. On the technical thing, it's just obvious is what our politicians haven't done, and that's to stop the mass migration of people from the developing world who are, among other things, largely non-skilled workers who we just don't need. We just don't need more of them. And we certainly don't need illegals who arrive by boat in the South Coast, something American viewers and listeners will know about and have heard about in their own context. Unfortunately,
Except we're closing our borders.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to go and pause it because I think the important part I was going to point out was early on. This clip goes on, and so I think we're going to play it later. But here's the point. While you were listening to Dave Smith and Douglas Murray going back, and you were having Vietnam flashbacks of 2020 being like, this sounds awful. He doesn't want people, talking on podcasts. He doesn't want people going out there and pushing strange things. This is all red flag, which is what it was for me. And then I listened to this and I go, Douglas wasn't arguing 2020. He was arguing England right now, which is, I think, a bit ironic. His main focus is on the how would I say this? The conquering of Western society through Islamic means, or at least a Muslim ideology, because he's from England. So everything in his periphery, and he's been doing this for years, talking about cultural degradation of the left and why he was worried the left was breaking down Western civilization, society, and worried about what was going to come next, which he was rightfully called, was Islam was going to start taking over these Western societies. So whereas in all the time that he kept bringing, like, I can't believe Dave's arguing for this other side. Again, Douglas sees two sides. There's no nuance. He's not in the center. He made that clear. There's two sides of this. And I don't even know if he cares about which one's right or wrong in this morally. I think he cares about one thing, and that's the continuation of Western society, classical liberalism. And what he sees is there's this other ideology creeping in a swarm, because we don't really see that too much unless you're like in Dearborn, Michigan. He sees this, and that's what he's focused on. So why is Douglas Murray mad that Rogan had on Ian Carroll or Daryl Cooper? Why? Because he's afraid of Jew hatred? I don't think so. I think what he's afraid of is it's giving more to the other side, because again, he thinks in two sides. Now, this is where, because he even brings up the Wolfowitz thing. He's like, and he skirts around the concept, but what they were saying is basically, if you're for the Palestinians and not Israel, it's because you're an anti-Semite. And he kind of went that direction. Well, basically what he's saying is because Rogan has on these people are been like, well, it was really Winston Churchill who might have been, had some fault in World War II. He thinks people take that, which they do, and run with it, being like, all the people who are Jewish are bad. They're all bad. It's all bad. And he's terrified of that concept, because what do you replace that with? And he's scared of Islam taking over the Western culture. So anytime Joe has Daryl on or Ian Carroll to talk about maybe Israel's not doing the right thing, or maybe there's some atrocities going on, all we can see has been like, oh, it seems like a pretty fair point, and we're all seeing the videos. But all Dougie here sees is, guys, this might be the last thing holding back this wave of things that are coming and taking over the West. So of course Dougie's going to be all for Israel. Doesn't matter what atrocity. And he says that he's like, I can't. You can tell on his face. It's like, I can't believe you guys are for the other side. Again, Dave's not for the other side. I don't think Joe is either. But he can't see that. He sees two sides, and he's in like, guys. He just wrote a book about how Hamas and Islam extremists are a death cult. So that's all that's on the brain. He's trying to save the West from a death cult. And so he's like, how could you have these people on who are asking questions? And he brings that up. Like, at one point in time, you're not asking questions, you're inferring things. Here's the nuanced fun part about this whole thing, is he alludes to the idea that these ideas of being like, maybe Palestinians are having a rough go at this one. Maybe he's alluding to that, where it just comes down to bigotry against the Jewish people. He alludes to that, like, this is where it goes. It's just anti-Semitism. It's the same thing we keep hearing. Everything's anti-Semitism. And he's taking, if you have this one idea, this is the only place it goes. The funny thing is, he's done that with the completely other group. He doesn't look at Palestinians as anything other than Hamas. And he even says that. He's like, these are casualties for destroying this evil thing. To him, all of Islam is one giant thing. It's a monolith. And he looks at it that way, and then he points out, he goes, we don't need other people doing the same thing to the Jewish people. It's really wild that he's like, I do this to this group, but you can't do it to that group because then it's anti-Semitism. But you're doing it to the other group. Anyway, a bit nuanced. Just so you know, I thought this was really interesting. Go watch the Dave Rubin, even if you hate Dave Rubin. I don't mind him. He's a whatever. A bit apathetic, which is, again, we just talked about this, worse than hate. But I did think this was a contrast, because I think everyone who watched that, everyone who picked a side of the Dave and Douglas debate, I think one side had 2020 on the mind, and the other side had like the stabbings in England on the mind. And if you look through it through either lens, you're like, maybe he's got a point. The only place I think Doug, well, not the only place. There's a few places I think Dougie made a terrible, terrible call, and that was for the experts. Because even if you're like, 2020, what happened in 2020? Every time someone starts claiming this moral authority, or at least this expertise authority thing, you're gonna invoke 2020 images all over again. Sorry, I got a eyelash in my eye. Anyway, that was I think Dave won that debate, but that's only because, again, the whole time I was listening, I was thinking 2020. I'm also not in England, and so I'm not worried about this threat of Islam taking over my culture. Maybe we should. I don't know. Also, don't like the idea of thinking all the people in Israel are, out to kill you and get your stuff. I also don't think every Muslim is a terrible person. Again, I'm an individualist. I don't look at monoliths. I think people categorize themselves and they group up as a tribe, sure, but I'm just not going to include everything in that. Tribes aren't a vacuum. They don't just sweep everything in. So unless you remove yourself as an individual into a tribe, unless you do that thing like Dougie did, then I'm going to look at you as like an individual person, and I'm going to judge you. And yes, the Bible says to judge. I'm going to judge you on your own individual scale, not on a scale of a group of people. That's what being an individualist is. And so that's just where we're at. That's how I look at these things on an individual basis matter. Again, a bit nuanced. It's a bit nuanced nonsense. I know no one likes that. No one likes to be an individualist. No one likes to look at things and individuals on their merits, because it's a lot quicker and it's a lot funnier to just group everybody together the way I do with lefties. Anyway, that was a long lecture. Hope you guys wanted to hear me preach tonight. Nuance. Guys, let's talk about one more thing about the nuance thing. This is a bit of a nuanced conversation. Well, I don't know if you heard about this. It was on the next Rogan. A lot of Joe Rogan tonight. On the next Rogan episode, guys, I recloned dire wolves. Dire wolves are back, guys. Did you know that? And I know what your only reference to dire wolves. There's only two options you got. You watch Game of Thrones. Sorry. Two references to dire wolves that you know of. Game of Thrones, or you played D&D. And if you're on that second category, like, I know dire wolves, I played D&D, do not do not forget to go to flintlockandfog.com, sign up, become a beta tester. Go here. It's my game I made. It's just like D&D, except for it takes place in the Victorian era. Am I going to add dire wolves? Maybe. How'd you guys like that ad slip? Right in there. Even though I hate ads. I put my own ad slip. It was a good tee up. I teed that up pretty well. Anyway, dire wolves are back, guys. Here's a picture of George R.R. Martin, the guy who wrote Game of Thrones, with the first-born dire wolf. That's a pretty big dog. I don't think that's not how it came out of the test tube. I would hope not. I would hope that would not be. Let's make this a little bit bigger. No, that didn't make much bigger. Let's do this. That didn't make much bigger either. All right, back to normal. Pretty big dog. Direwolf. When you hear direwolf, I don't know what you thought of. I thought of like the wolves in Twilight, the werewolves, like giant. I got some disappointing nuanced news for you guys. Direwolves are back, but who really cares? Because what are they? Just slightly larger wolves? We already have wolves. And this is where you can fight me in the comments on this, but even though if George R.R. Martin can hold a puppy, and I'm sure he's got a great back, he probably works out. No, doesn't work out. Sits hunched over at a table writing terrible fiction. If he can hold that thing up, I'm not super worried about it. Now, should I be worried about direwolves coming back? Because to me, it just seems we have bigger dogs than wolves. We already have big dogs. We already have them. So like, hey, direwolves, what's the difference? What's the difference between a wolf and a direwolf? One's genetically really old and one's new. I don't get what the yeah, is it cool? Sure, it's cool. Are we worried about it? I don't see why we would be. We got Godspeed coming in. Says let's bring back mammoths next. Actually, I like that point too. Mammoths are pretty cool. I think we should. And I think that's kind of where it's going. Maybe that's why, nuanced opinion on this. Maybe that's why people are nervous about this thing, because we've seen Jurassic Park. We know where this goes for sure. We know where this goes. We got Zach coming in. Still more gray wolf than dire, but yes, it is cool. All right, see, that's a good point. I agree. It's pretty much more. I think genetically, it's more of a regular gray wolf than it is a dire, but it is neat that we're cloning and making Jurassic Park a real thing. Also coming back in, let's bring back saber-toothed tigers. Now, see, if this was a saber-toothed tiger old George R. Martin was holding, maybe my ears would have perked up. My dog ears would have perked up a little bit more. But yeah, guys, I don't know. It's not that I'm not buying it. Do I think it's cool? Legacy Zach's got one more coming in. I've seen a Timberwolf up close, very tall, LOL. See, we already have Timberwolves. What if direwolves come out and they're dumber and slower than Timberwolves? And we're like, oh, we thought Apex Predator and we got Chihuahua. What if that happens? And it's just a giant disappointment. Like every time they're like, new UFO documents are dropping. Guess what? They're UFOs, but no one cares. Everyone's apathetic at this point. Again, everyone's apathetic. Speaking of files that won't drop, are we going to get any other files from old Pam? I'm going to bring this up every friggin' episode. I love the fact that Cash Patel's in the FBI. Sure, it's been crickets coming from there. Oh, what you doing, Cash? We taking down the deep state? Nope, just narcotics. Drug war, that whole thing. We've never done a drug war before. So I'm super stoked Cash is in there getting drugs. Polishing the deep state. However you want to think about that. Guys, going back. I got one more clip for you. We're going to watch this, and this goes back to our conversation about the stock market, Generation 90s, and how to be nuanced. Does this clip function and work well with the rest of all the others? Not really. It's just somewhat there, and it is kind of funny. So I bashed on the boomers all the beginning episode, so I thought maybe we'd throw a few punches at our own side. Not millennials. This skipped me, but this goes down to whatever the Gen Alpha or whatever. Here's a clip. Check this out.
Generation Z, in order to combat high coffee prices, has discovered a brand new trend, the home cafe, where they, let me make sure I have this right. Yes, they invite their friends over to have coffee at home, or at least in their tiny apartments. And this is a new trend. It's only a matter of time in order to combat high eating out prices, they discover a new home restaurant trend, where you make dinner at home in your kitchen. Zoomers are the boomers of millennials.
There it is, guys. New trends popping up. People making coffee at home like the boomers told us to, and not going out to eat and just cooking at home like the boomers did growing up. Here's the thing. Sure, there's two sides of this coin. Sure, is it great that these younger crowds are starting to brew their own coffee instead of buying it from Starbucks? Sure. Is it great that they're starting to cook at home instead of going out to eat all the time? Absolutely. But the cool thing is they're only doing it out of necessity. So this hard time is going to create strong people. And how do I know that? It's because they're going to be cooking. Here's the thing. It's all great. It's like, hey, come over my house and drink coffee that I made. That scenario is automatically better than let's all go to Starbucks and stare at our phones. We're already doing it. It's already happening. The world the boomers created, this terrible, awful world where you never have to cook at home anymore. You just go out to eat all the time because money is just flowing because Federal Reserve is just printing it up left and right. What do we need? Another pandemic? Let's print some more money. That time is over. It ain't coming back. And you know this because Joann's is shutting down. All these big businesses are shutting down. Red Lobster's going bankrupt. All the things from the 90s are crumbling apart. All the things that you remember. It started with Toys R. Really, it started with Harambe. But we saw it with Toys R Us. That was your 90s childhood being stripped away and made into a Spirit Halloween, which I'm not terribly mad at. But I only get those once a year. Unless they start making Spirit Halloween year round, I'm still pretty upset. But it started with Toys R Us. Now all the societies, we're watching societal collapse. Maybe it's going to birth into a new butterfly of something amazing. But the only cool thing about this I can see is maybe we're going to go back to, a little bit of the older days where no one goes out to eat. Let's regress to that point. But let's not go to like the breadline depression part. Hopefully we're not headed there. Anyway, guys, I hate to leave you off on a rough note. So I wanted to really highlight the fact that if the younger kids are making coffee at home and cooking dinners at home, we are on the right track. We're heading down the right road. We're gonna sweep up this mess the boomers left us. We're gonna be fine. Everybody's gonna be fine. Everybody born in the 80s and 90s has learned to duck and weave this whole time. There's nothing going to come out that's going to throw us for a loop. We're all apathetic to everything. Well, World War III is around the corner. Do I care? It doesn't matter. Did we even stop the last one? No, yes, maybe. Who knows? Who knows anymore? So no one cares. We're all going to be fine. We're all going to be absolutely fine. Even the younger generation, they're going to start making coffee, inviting their friends over, hopefully to play tabletop RPGs like FNF. Don't forget to go to fnf.com, buy you a manual. Sorry, that was one more plug. Guys, I hope you have a fantastic week. I want you to focus on this week. We're all going to be just fine. The harder things get, the stronger everybody else gets. So maybe we got a bright future ahead of us. That's what I like to think. Plus, we win in the end. And again, I say this ever so often, and you can ask me, David, how do you know that we win in the end? And the reason I know is because I read the book, and it says it at the end. Guys, I hope you have a fantastic week. Have a blessed week. And go out there and spread some love, spread some joy, and make coffee at home. Maybe the stock market will crash again. Who knows? Go and get into that habit. It's a good habit. Either way, I hope you guys have a wonderful week.